activity schedule.
Sorry, Jed, I don't know what happened there.
Oh, okay. Anyhow, let's just show you some of this stuff so you see what I'm talking about, right? First of all, this is a first then approach. That's a way to motivate kids. If I say to a kid, you have to do your letters and then you can play with your iPad, that kid may resist and not fully understand it. But if I make it like a visual schedule, first we do our letters, then you get iPad, I might get a kid who's more cooperative because they understand they will get their favorite thing, iPad, as long as they do whatever it is they have to do with their letters, okay? This is a simple, well, actually, it's not so simple. This is a cartoon visual schedule of either how to take a bath or how to take a shower. Unfortunately, they put it all together in one, which makes it more confusing. But I want to make a point about this, right? It says fill the tub with water or turn on the shower, take your clothes off, get in the tub or get in the shower, right? That's a visual schedule. Guess what? If you're a kid with autism and you look at fill the tub with warm water, that might look like a bowl of soup to you. Sometimes photographs are better than cartoons. Photographs are more concrete visuals because just because we understand that that represents a bathtub or that represents a shower doesn't mean that that's what the kid is understanding. So sometimes when a kid is not understanding, go back to photographs. That will be better than the cartoon. Just to give you an idea, anybody use PEC system, by the way? Anybody use the PEC system? Andy, Bondi, and Frost, who are in New Jersey, created this system. They're ABA therapists who created a system to teach language through pictures. Does anybody, how many, put in your chat room if you have a kid with what we call ASD level 3, that is very limited language. Just, stick in your, just give me a yes in your chat if you work with kids like that or you have a child like that at the moment. Some people say yes. Okay. So, and give me a yes or no. Well, no, now I won't know what you're responding to. So let me just say PECS is a system often, not always, but often used to help kids with language who are at that level 3 autism. In the first stage of the PECS system, this child, you see the picture of him, is learning that he can give a picture of a particular item, in this case, candy, and that will get from the person he gives it to actual candy. So that's the first learning of a symbolic way to communicate. I give a picture of an item and I get the item back. In the second phase, he learns that he can give that picture to different people. He can also give different pictures of different items to different people. And so he begins to learn, that you can do this with different places, different people, different objects. Phase 3 is you introduce the concept of choice. So the kid is now going to learn to respond. Do you want, this or do you want that? So it's like a choice board. Do you want your candy or do you want your socks? Okay. In phase, let me move my chat box here. In phase 4, you really introduce the first kind of concept of a grammatical structure of a sentence. Instead of giving a picture of a ball to get a ball, the kid will learn that they have to use the icon for I want and then ball to get a ball. If he says, I see the ball, the person will say, oh, I see the ball too. But if he gives the picture of I want, which is a picture of someone reaching for something, then he actually gets the ball. So now you're introducing an added layer of sentence structure. And then we continue to teach kids how to answer questions, what do you want? And maybe make comments, what do you see? What do you hear, etc. So this is the use of pictures to begin to communicate. It's very similar. I'm sure some of you have lots of pictures and binders where they have choice boards and stuff like that. The PEC system is a specific system, and there's a specific methodology for using it, and you can get trained by Andy, Bondi, and Frost. I think they might even have an online training. Okay. ABA, it means lots of different things. It just really means the application of behavioral principles to teach people. But a lot of people, equate ABA with what's called discrete trial, which was Ivor Lovaas's approach back in 1989, he did this sort of landmark study that showed, hey, we have these kids with autism who don't have language, and look, I can teach them. And now they're learning language. 50% of them developed remarkably good language, another 50% only moderately so. But it was the first study to really show you could teach kids who were nonverbal. And that's one type of ABA approach. I'm going to show you a video of that. That is a very externally based program where you get external rewards. Like if you answer a question correctly, you get a snack or you get access to your video game. It's an external reward. Pivotal response training and verbal behavior training are also ABA strategies, but parts of them don't use external rewards, but use what we called more intrinsic motivation, where we make the actual activity fun in and of itself. So let me give you examples of both. You get an idea. I'm going to show you this young man, Justin, who is working with Mark, and I had a clinical coordinator, Lauren, who worked with us until she built her family. She has 400 kids now at home, and that's why she can't come to work anymore. No, but she has 2, and that's plenty. Anyway, she's working with Justin, and she's going to model what is a discrete trial intervention, which is a cue, a prompt, and a reward. And what it looks like is she's going to teach him the different words for colors, like there's blue, there's yellow, there's green. So we have a picture there of different colored, say, I think circles or squares, and she cues him, touch blue. If he did touch blue, she would prompt him by putting his hand on blue. And if he said, and then she would reward him with praise, great touching blue, and then reward him with an external reward. In this case, he's working for organic mango slices. We run a healthy program, folks, so we don't love to use Skittles, and he loves organic mango, so that works. So take a look at this video.
Thank you for fixing your cards. Should we work for some mango? Yes, I like the way you're sitting. You can have a piece. Okay, we're gonna look at our colors. Okay, look at me. Nice job. Okay, look at the colors. Can you touch blue? Oh, you're so smart. You found blue. Give me a high five. Okay, let's do blue again. Here, can you put it on the end? Great job. Okay, look at your colors. We're gonna get some more mango. Find blue. Oh, you're so smart. Oh, thank you. Good finding blue.
Okay, you got the idea. Cue, prompt, reward. You can teach people colors. You can teach people different words. You can teach all kinds of things this way. A lot of folks have criticized discrete trial because also sometimes kids don't want to sit for 25 hours a week and do discrete trial training. And let's say, maybe he wants to just lie down on the floor and play Legos. He doesn't want to just earn Legos as a reward. He wants to play Legos or something. And instead he's doing these trials. So sometimes kids resist and they get mad. And so pivotal response training was Robert Cagle's approach, where he did a cue, prompt, and reward, a low-VOS discrete trial, but he said, what if we start with the kid's interest? Okay. For example, hold on one sec here. So in the example you're going to see, this is me and my daughter. Let's say we want to work on colors too, but we start with her interest. What's going on? She's drawing. I don't take her to a separate room to go work on colors. She's drawing. That's what she likes doing. We'll start with what she's already attending to. The key to pivotal response training is follow the lead of the child. If they're drawing, then that means their motivation attention lies with drawing. Let's capitalize on that. So I'm going to ask her, what color is this? Or what shape is this? And the reward she'll get for responding is she continues to draw because that's the activity she likes. In other words, drawing is itself intrinsically rewarding. I don't have to give her an external reward. Take a look. Oh, what a nice drawing. Can I see it? Are these hearts or squares or circles?
Circles.
Oh, do you want it?
Yes.
Say drawing, please.
Drawing, please.
All right, you can have it. Oh, nice color. Can I see this?
Yes.
What color is this?
Blue.
Do you want the blue?
Blue, please.
Here you go. Okay, the take-home message is follow the lead of your kid. They're reading a book that looks nice to them. Is the dolphin on top of the water, below the water? You can learn mixed into the activity that you're already doing. This requires more skill because it requires you as a parent or as a professional to improvise a little bit. Mark is great at this. It's his theater background. You know,
Thank you, sir.
well, I think you are. I mean, I have an agenda in the back of my mind. I want to teach this kid something about colors today or about shapes. I've got to work it into whatever they're doing already. Okay. Verbal behavior training has several parts to it. The first part is called man training, which is just another word for request training, teaching kids to ask for things. And so you're going to see in this instance, Justin is given the choice to play with Legos or blocks or to draw. He chooses to draw, but Lauren takes the magic markers. What has happened? He wants to draw, but she has the magic markers. We call that baiting. That is, we put him in a position where he wants or needs something, and that motivates language. And so when you create a situation like this, you create the need to communicate. Take a look.
Okay. Let's do some more coloring. Here. Can you put your hands on the paper? Oh, these colors.
Brown marker.
Oh, sure, you can have the brown marker. Nice asking.
Oops. Take home message. Do not just automatically anticipate the needs of your kids. Those needs create motivation to then want to communicate. There's an interesting book, I'll write it in the chat box, by someone named Teresa Cardone. And I think the book is called Initiations. It's on Amazon, along with my books. I don't think I spelled that right because I can't even see. Initiations. And that book is and it's Cardone with an E, I think, too. It would be helpful if I was wearing my glasses. Anyhow, that is a book that describes a variety of situations to bait your kids, like putting a jar of like their favorite pretzels way up high so that they have to say pretzels, please, because they can't get it. Turning the jar so tight that they have to learn the word open so that then you open it and then they begin to learn. See, you're not saying, oh, good, requesting open, now you can go play your video game. It's a more intrinsic built-in natural reward that you open it and now they get the pretzel. Okay. How many of you work with kids from the 0 to 4 age? We call that early intervention. Give me a yes or no in your chat box there. Yeah, Jacqueline does. Anybody else? Early intervention? If you do work in that 0 to 4 age, I really would highly suggest you look at the Early Start Denver model by Sally Rogers and Geraldine Dawson. She's done something wonderful in that she's taken an ABA strategy like pivotal response training, which remember is like following the lead of the kid, but then you do a very clear ABA cue prompt reward. And she's embedded that in teaching parents how to play with their 0 to 4-year-old kids. And they've done some very good research to show that their program can increase a child's communication and socialization on a variety of skills. And it's been replicated across settings with different people. So there's a nice book. It's not this 2010 book, but it's a 2012 book, An Early Start for Your Child with Autism, or there's an activity book in 2012 that's on Amazon as well, that has lots of activities to help you learn how to do this. If any of you have ever done floor time with your kids, Greenspan's approach, this is a little bit like floor time mixed in with a behavioral approach. And it works very well. And it's, again, following the lead of the kid, clearing the room of items so that they don't just, like, if you've got a level 3 autism, a kid with level 3 autism, and you're in a room alone and there's lots of distractions, they're not going to interact with you. They're going to go climb the walls and explore the room. But if you take everything out and you're it, and maybe you're holding a box full of toys, they got to go through you to get the toys. You've created a situation where they're going to want to attend to you. Okay. So I would take a look at their program if you're looking at early intervention of how to play with kids to sort of make them motivated to interact. I want to talk to you a little bit about level 2 and level 3, and then let's see how much time we have to take some questions. So level 2 are the kids I said who they've got language. Hey, what'd you have for breakfast? But they still have trouble using language and could use a visual backup, something concrete, like looking at pictures of breakfast items for them to respond. When I have, and these were kids that we might have previously called PDD and OS. When I have kids like this, if I'm teaching them conversation, I'll often use a conversation web where I might have this pre-filled out for a kid. Like maybe this is the kid who went to the museum, right? How was your weekend? Well, it's good. Where did you go? I went to the museum. What did you do? I saw the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Who did you see? Well, I saw, also the Stegosaurus. I liked it. What else did you do there? I went to the snack bar. All these little bubbles are filled in with WH questions. And if they have language, they can read, they're filled in with words. If not, maybe I fill in with a little picture. And that the parents fill this in, send it to school with the kid. And then when they get to school, someone can ask the kid questions. How was your week? And he can go to his pre-filled out sheet to answer. He has a visual backup for the conversation. It was good. What did you do? I went to the museum. Well, who'd you see? I saw the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Oh, when did you go? I went Saturday. How'd you get there? We took the train in, whatever it might be. And then we could also have him ask questions to another child and fill in the boxes for him. And then we could test him. Where did she say she went? Who did she go with? How was it? And so this is the kind of thing I often would do at snack time, maybe every day with certain kids at snack time. And by the end of the year, they didn't need the visual web anymore. They knew how to ask these questions and knew how to recall the information. But initially, they needed a little photographic backup for it. Another really good way to visually back up skill training is what I call picture books. I was at a program in Bergen County where we were trying to help kids with level 2 autism, and sort of kids who were transitioning from level 3 autism, maybe to level 2 autism, and trying to get them ready to be mainstreamed. And the teacher was asking me to teach them a variety of skills, which I was trying to teach from my social skill training book, which is a manual where my primary method was to explain, model, and role play skills. But the teacher said to me, when you're explaining it to these particular kids who have some language-based issues, they don't really understand your explanation. It's still good that you model the skill, but we need to do something with your explanation because they're not fully understanding it. And so she said, what if you take pictures of the skill and you put it back in order so that they could see what you're saying? And then you can model it live too. So basically we modeled it in picture, then we model it live, and then we have them practice it. This is an example from my social skill picture book, which is available also on Amazon. We never meant to publish this book, by the way. These were all skill lessons for the kids in that program. Problem is when we finished, well, let me show it to you first, then I'll talk about it. So this is just a cover page for parents. This was a skill called accepting no. Like if you don't get something you want and you say okay and you don't get mad, if you accept it, the other person will be happy and give you something else you want later. So this is what we show the kid. Hey, can I play this game? The teacher says, nope, you've got to do your work first. The right way, he says, okay, and he does his work. And look how happy the teacher is. You can see she's feeling proud of him, right? Or the wrong way, on the right side is the wrong way. He says, no, I want to play now. And look, she's getting mad. And she's saying, no, you have to go do your work. Now, when he did it the right way, he's finished working. Now he gets to play. But when he did it the wrong way, he didn't do his work. He's not getting to play. He's feeling frustrated. So the idea of a picture book is to make the invisible payoff of a social skill visible. Sharing is the best example of that, I think, which is kids with autism often feel like if you're asking them to share, you're just taking something from them, taking their potato chips. But if they can see a picture that they give up potato chips and they get back dark chocolate pretzels, then that's a pretty good deal. So again, we made these picture books. We never meant to publish them, but we found that when we left the picture books there, kids were going on their own time and acting out what they saw in the picture books. And then kids from other classes kept coming down and wanted to see the picture books and acting them out. And so we sent it to a publisher, and it turned out for some number of years in the United States, it was one of the top 10 autism books. And we were floored by that. But it was, parents were saying, this is my kid's favorite book. And so now we have a picture book for high school and beyond as well. But you can also make your own picture books. There's an app called Pictello, Pictello. I'll put it in the chat. Oh, wait, I never sent this to you. Let me put this Pictello. And that's an app that allows you to call up photographs, thought bubbles, word call outs, and create and assemble your own picture books. The only advice I give you is some kids don't know that the left is the right way and the right is the wrong way, right? And so I take out the wrong way for some kids. It's just easier to show the right way and leave out the wrong way. For other kids, it's useful to see right versus wrong because it's a good contrast. Cognitive picture rehearsal is one other visual technique. This is like the same as sort of these picture books, but it's a cartoon. And what you're supposed to do in the cartoon is you draw the trigger, like the trigger to a problem, like a difficult situation that the kid's confronted with. You draw what you want them to do when it happens, and then you draw like the good thing that will happen if they respond appropriately. Okay, here's an example of a kid named Matt who doesn't want to get off the computer. Matt, here you are playing at the computer, right? So all is well now. Here's the first trigger. The teacher or the parent tells you to get off the computer. You feel mad. But you think to yourself, so this is the behavior we want him to engage in. You think to yourself, if I get off the computer, she'll be proud and happy and she'll let me use it again. And she'll also give me a point on my reward chart. So these are good things that'll happen if he gets off the computer. So you say, okay, I'll stop. And when you get off the computer, look what she's doing. She gives you a point on your reward chart. And then later that day at 2 p.m., she's letting you use the computer again. Why is she letting you use the computer again? Because you got off on time. Why did she give you a point on the reward chart? Because you got off on time. We're putting in the Dr. Banner forebrain, all the good things that happen if you get off the computer on time. I've used this a lot with kids who would not leave the park to come home, who would not leave recess to go back to class. And we sort of show visually good things that happen if they leave on time, kind of thing. So that's another method you can use. Video modeling is another excellent method. And you can use this for level 1, level 2, or level 3 autism. But, you know, the more language a kid has, the more words you can put into the video. So you saw some videos that I had. If you go to YouTube and you type in Jed Baker, you'll see some YouTube lessons that I have. So YouTube, Jed Baker, no more meltdowns. I put it in the chat box. Oops, I misspelled YouTube. Sorry about that. YouTube, that's what I meant to say. Nope. Is this, you know what this is? This is Apple correction. Okay, there we go. So if you put in into YouTube, Jed Baker No More Meltdowns, you'll see some video lessons. But the point of video is it helps with generalization. I'm going to try to show you just a tiny bit of this video. There's just a kid who didn't really make greetings, didn't say goodbye, didn't initiate play. And so what we did is we just created a video and we would show it to him before he had to say hello to people, before he had to say goodbye to people, and before he was going to play with people. So he would see himself doing the skill. Here, take a look.
Hi, how are you? Good, how are you?
Those are just typical peers. Here he comes.
Hi, how are you? How are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine.
Go.
Hi, Linus. Hi, Jennifer. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine.
Go ahead.
Hi, Linus.
Hi, Lori.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine.
Hi, Linus. Hi, Ariel. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. Goodbye, Linus. Goodbye, Ariel. Linus, do you want to play follow the leader? Yes. Who should be the leader? Linus. Okay.
Well, I'm not going to show you all of it, but and it's a little hard to see in here. But the point is, this is called video self-modeling. Take a video of your kid, edit out the parts that they don't do right. So you're left with the video of the actual skill you want them to do. And research suggests that kids tend to imitate themselves. And so you can use that as a primer before they have to be in a situation. Okay, that's the idea. Last but not least, I want to talk to you a little bit about level 1, which is now kids who have quite a lot of language, but they still have those social issues. Now we can talk to them and not only explain what to do, but explain why. What are some of the methods we use? One of my colleagues, Michelle Garcia Winter, many of you probably, if you're a speech and language therapist, you'll know her books. Michelle works really hard to try to help kids in that sort of level 1 autism always think about what the other person might be thinking or feeling. She's trying to get them, if you will, to read their mind, more or less. That's really hard for a lot of our kids on the spectrum. And so, but what she's trying to do is sort of help them gather information so that they can always try to estimate what the other person is thinking and adjust their behavior accordingly. Now, what I try to do in my social skill books is to sort of assume they may have trouble doing that. So I'm going to tell them what the other person might be thinking or feeling. And so we don't just tell them what to do, we tell them why, how it makes people think or feel. So let me give you a difference. Let's say you have a kid who perseverates on their interests, like Mark and Claire were talking about their kid who only talks about sports. And let's say he's talking to, his grandmother who may not be interested in sports. Let's just pretend, right? She might be, but let's just say. And so Michelle Garcia Winter would want Mark and Claire's son to be able to sort of read grandmother's face and realize, oh, she seems bored, I should change the topic. And that's a good goal to have. Where I might say, well, I don't know if Mark and Claire's son can do that yet. He might, but I'm just going to tell him if he's talking to sports, he's got about sports, he has to check to see if the other person is interested first. And if grandma's not, then here's what you say. Oh, well, how are you, grandma? What do you want to talk about? So I'll give him a map. What I do is I explain, model, and role play skills. And when I explain, I don't explain just what to do, right? I explain why. Like if you only talk about sports to someone who's not interested in sports, it might make them bored. The key is to find people who share that interest, right? And this is called structured learning, to explain, model, and role play. Now, I say you need a gimmick. What I try to do in my social skill book is always have a gimmick. Remember last time we met and I said, say silk 5 times fast. What do cows drink? And the answer was, I hope you remember, It was water anyway, but that's a gimmick. It was trying to get you to sort of pay attention to something, and then I could teach you about making mistakes. So I think, I come from my grandfather was in vaudeville and show business, and I come from a shtick kind of gimmicky kind of thing where you got to get people's attention. And so we try to do that in a skill lesson because nobody wants to be lectured at. You got to get their attention and then teach them the skill. I was going to show you a couple of different skills around conversation skills. Is that something you guys want to hear? Because I could just take your questions too in the 10 minutes we have remaining. Give me a yes or no if you want to see sort of a package of conversation skills for that sort of level 1 kid. Some people are saying yes. Yeah. All right. So I'll do that and then take questions. Look, if you have a kid with that level 1 autism, they're conversational, or even level 2, they have got language. We want to teach them how to have a conversation. And the kid who monopolizes, like only is talking about sports at people, or the kid who doesn't talk at all because he's really shy, they need the same skill, which is to how to talk to people to engage your partner, not just talk at them, but this is one of the skills. This is how you talk to people to engage them. You ask them questions, WH questions, and you make comments about what they said. What are you going to do this Memorial Day weekend? Where are you going to go? Who are you going with? Oh, I've been there too, or I like that. What are you going to do after that? What else are you going to do? That's how you keep a conversation going. So this hangs in the room where I practice conversation skills. This is also a way to start conversations with people you already know. So here are some categories to start conversations with people you already know. Ask them about the present situation. Hey, what are you guys doing? What are you guys playing? What are you looking at? Ask questions about the past. Hey, how was your week? How was your day? How was work? Ask questions about the future. What are you going to do this weekend? What are you going to do for summer vacation? And here's number 5. Folks, this is the most important one. Number 5. A Harvard study recently came out and showed that people are liked more when they don't just ask a generic question like, hey, how have you been doing? That's fine. But they ask a more pointed question. Like if I know you recently hurt your ankle, hey, how's your ankle? Or if I know that you were looking for a job, hey, how's your job search? Or I know that you are in the Special Olympics and are doing track and field. Hey, how's track and field going? I ask something that's specific to you. That makes you like me more because you realize that I'm thinking of you, that I care enough to know about you. And these are questions that we give them as a script to get to know new people, like not only their name, where they go to school, roughly where they live, and but their interests are the most important thing. What do you like to do for fun? What games do you play? Shows you watch? Music? Where do you like to go for fun? Because if I can figure out whether we have a shared interest, that might be a basis for us to have another conversation, even get together, or even be friends. And that's the easiest way for kids on the spectrum to make friends, is to find people who share your interests. To go, to who else likes Japanese anime? Who else likes this stuff? So we'll talk about that. So I guess I want to say one other thing for you. When I have a group, I often run groups. Sometimes I just work individually with kids. If they're not motivated to be in a group, I can still teach them skills. But if I work in a group, I don't really call it a social skill group anymore. I want it to be motivating. And so my group will have some kind of a particular activity as a reason for kids to get together. Maybe it's a robotics club. Maybe I had a girls group that was a baking club. I've had film clubs. And it's that activity that brings them together. But then we learn how to talk to each other. We go over some skills, and then we do our activity. Talk time, skill time, activity time. That's my agenda for group. And so they practice talking to each other. They practice a certain skill, but it's all in order to be able to do whatever the activity was. So this was for a film club we were doing where I had them make a commercial for a fictional product, But if it was a baking club, we might be making microwavable brownies, which I did the other day with some girls, and that was an activity, but they had to talk with each other, compromise. All right. There's more I could do, go over sensitivity lessons and such, but I want to stop for a second and see if you have some specific questions about any skill area. I'm happy to talk about creating peer buddy programs if that's one of your questions. And here's a gratuitous advertisement for all my books, which I'm happy to talk about as well. But guys, you can unmute yourself and you can chat. Just tell me what's on your mind, what you need to know, because we've only got 5 minutes left. This is your last chance live with me in May of 2021.
Does anyone have any questions related to things that are happening in the schools, things that are happening at home, in the area of social skills, ideas that you might have for your child while you're on with Jed?
And let me get back to maybe the one question that Michael had, because maybe I didn't answer that. Michael and Claire, how do you expand your son's interests? This was an example I was going to show you how I develop peer buddy programs for kids who are less verbal. Your kid might be quite verbal if he's talking about sports. But the concept is similar, which is number one, I have to explore activities that could be enjoyable to my students. When I have less verbal kids, I'll come up with games that don't require much language. I like hide and seek and follow the leader and red light, green light. I like guessing games, charade games, because you don't have to have a lot of language. I can guess the animal. They can point to a picture of an animal. I like tabletop games that don't have a lot of wait time. Hungry Hippos, Lucky Ducks, Go Fishing. You play it all at once. There's no wait time there. I'm going to try all those games out. And as I said to you earlier, maybe the kids refuse to play the first time. Then I do it a second time. And then they play 1 or 2 games. Then I do it the third time. And there seem to be 3 or 4 games that they like. They smile. And I realize, okay, those are good games. This kid likes the game now. I will take a picture of those games, put it on a choice board, and I have a routine with them where now every time I come in, they'll point to the games they want to play on my choice board, and we'll play those games. And then I go and teach typical peers to do that with them. And this works better than getting my kids to go out at recess and play a complicated foursquare or soccer or football where there's so many verbal rules that might be challenging for a kid with less language. Instead, what I've done is reverse mainstreaming, bringing typical peers into a controlled environment, playing games that are in the comfort level of our kids. And now I got these kids interacting, okay? And so you might use something there, Michael, Claire, in thinking about your son as well. I don't know where he's at with his language. So you could respond to that if you want, Michael or Claire, or if other people have questions.
I just have one comment for everybody, Jed. It might be helpful for me so that I know how we plan for next year. If people could just drop in the chat, whether they're a parent, someone from a community school or from District 75, that would really be helpful, because that'll give me a sense of who has come to the webinar this round.
And resources, Mark, just so you know what I've been talking about today. On the lower left is the book called Social Skills Training. That is a social skill training book, my original book. Probably I would say for level 1, maybe to some extent level 2, okay? And it's the subject of several outcome studies, which I posted some of those studies on Amazon, if you go to my Amazon page there. So pretty good outcome studies on using that book in a group format with kids. Next to it is the Social Skill Picture book, which is be more appropriate for kids who are having more language challenges. And so those are pictures of different skills, right way and wrong way. To the right of that are the books for older kids. Preparing for Life is like my social skill training book. It's a manual for kids with at level 1, but it's geared for older kids. So it has like dating skills, interview skills, and less play skill there. And then there's a picture book for that age group too. Okay. Question from Sherry Ann, focusing on cell phone constantly, just started in person last month. He'll not turn off cell phone in school, also has been falling asleep in school and at home. I don't know what's the all about the sleep thing, but in general, when somebody has a a passion and perseverative interest with the cell phone, I wouldn't take it away, but I would schedule it. And so maybe we can have scheduled times where he has a break where he could use the cell phone. So, and some kids, the cell phone has really become a transitional object. Like there's been studies on all of us that we panic when we don't have our cell phone nearby. I do panic. It is like my entry to everything of my world, like I connection with my kids and so sometimes if you take a cell phone away, you might want to put it near the kid, but turn it off, or in a locked box, maybe where they can't access it, but next to them so they know it's nearby and not gone. But the concept would be to try to create a schedule so it's easier to stop because they know exactly a visual schedule, so they know exactly when they can get it back again.
And Sherry, and also just to you had mentioned it's a D75 school. So always when thinking about if a student has something that they're highly motivated by, or sometimes we say obsessed with, or has an obsession with, what are the reactions of others in the environment, or how is the environment set up for him to interact with the cell phone? And then what are some of the behaviors that come out of that if the cell phone is asked to be given to someone else? So there's a lot of variables around that as well. So I like Jed's idea of, the possibility of, okay, so we're going to put the phone down for a minute and we're going to work on this, and then you can pick your phone back up again. Or so maybe it's a little bit of give and take, or a first then with a timer. That might support the process as well, along with the schedule.
Yeah, and then the other issue is if there's nothing else to engage him, then he's always going to go back to that. And it's like expanding his repertoire of things that might be fun and engaging that don't involve the cell phone. And so we'd have to, like, if it's put down the cell phone and do your least favorite subject in school, that probably isn't going to work so well, But if it was like put down the cell phone and then we have a dance party, maybe that could be something that allows him some distance from the phone for a moment.
Or dance party with the phone.
Well, okay.
Well,
I'm grandma, and this has been an ongoing problem.
Sherry, and I'm sorry, we're having a hard time
hearing
hearing
you. Talk into the mic a little bit, into the computer.
Okay, I'm talking for the computer. Yes, this has been an ongoing, for years, problem that's just gotten worse and worse. Part of, we're sure, is because he is so isolated, has no friends,
Right.
doesn't have any outside interest, and now he's 18.
Yeah.
So, just all that goes with that.
Right, and the pandemic is not making that better.
It certainly didn't, and also he has a younger brother, 2 years younger, 16 years old, also on the spectrum, has totally different issues, is very verbal. Well, Alex is pretty verbal. He has a speech impediment, but he's verbal enough, but it's just getting his attention.
Alex's conditions are worse though.
Yes, he's more severe on the spectrum.
Yeah. So I think in your comment, you sort of pointed to part of the answer, the solution, which is we've got to build a repertoire of some other motivating, interesting things for him to do. And so I would look for groups of shared interests. So whatever he's doing on his phone, and by the way, this is a universal problem. This is not even specific to autism. This is a generational issue with so many kids and teenagers, but it is exacerbated by his isolation. And so I would try to find people who have those shared interests, whatever he's looking at on the phone. And in fact, the phone may not be a bad thing if it becomes social too for him. If there's a way to, a group video game, group chat about games or whatever his interests are, signing him up to get out of the house and go to a class on that interest, whatever it might be. But it's got to be fun. It can't be something that he hates doing. You know, you're really looking for something intrinsically motivating.
But
Yep.
part of also with Alex, his interest, like music, and his brother worries about that. He is emotionally and intellectually much younger, so he will watch a small kids video. At the same time, has interests in, 60s rock and roll. But it's just very difficult. He lights onto something and then just like zones out with it until
Sherry,
he decides.
does he have the capacity to be able to respond to questions? So like, for example, like what Jed is talking
Yes.
about. So sometimes when you're thinking about making something fun or motivating in a way that you can shape the activity, is if he's highly motivated, let's say by a kid's show, but he's older developmentally, you can sort of shape the activity in a way where you could do like a group texting game where you can ask questions about the television show. And then he can respond to the answers. And then he might be able to ask you a question about a show that you have. So then that opens up the opportunity a little bit for the social interaction piece. And then it'll give you the opportunity to tap into his interest and motivation and what he's fixed on. But we'll also build on that motivation and the opportunity to allow yourself to enter his world, which could start, because remember, it's all about making it fun.
I
right,
love
thank
that. Love that, Mark. You know,
So do I.
yeah. And so even a charade game where you can act out characters that he's obsessed with and things like that. So you turn his passion that he's using on the phone into something that could be interactive with you and maybe potentially a peer.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sure thing.
Sure.
I have a question.
Yep.
My daughter would not return to school when it was opened to return. She has her DOE iPad. She's on it all the time, and she has regressed quite a bit. She won't go outside. She won't do anything except stay on that, and she's not doing her schoolwork anymore. So when you were talking about different rewards, what's intrinsic and like an outside kind of thing, I didn't know how to make it where she would want to do it herself. So I made a little chart, and she has to get a certain number of points to win something, right? So we just started that last week. And that's not even very motivating. It's really hard to get her.
Points to do what? For her to go to school, or for
I
her to...
have different things for her to do. She has to get on with a camera, with video, because most times she's in bed. She stays in bed almost
Right.
all day in her pajamas. So of course she can't be on video with that. So to be on video, she has to be in the dining room, the living room. So that's a point. Like she can get up to 10 points a day. And she's gotten 1, 2. I did explain it to the OT because she won't even get on with OT, but she did get on today with another person. And that helps. To have another student is almost like night and day.
Well, that's what we mean by intrinsic motivation. In other words, you're using a reward, and to beef that up, you would just want to make sure you have powerful enough external rewards and a good menu of rewards so it stays motivating. But the idea of having a peer on the video Zoom chat with her, or the lesson that they're doing is fun and engaging, that's what we mean by intrinsic motivation. So it's not like you have to reward her for doing it. The thing itself becomes the attraction.
Right. Now with school, she has stopped doing schoolwork completely, like from December. So she'll get on, mostly gets on, but I have to actually put the class on for her. She won't do it, and listen in. She will not, very infrequently will she answer questions or share with the class. Even when they wait for her and, they give her time and they ask her.
You know what I would say to you? I mean, I could give a complicated answer, but I think there's a simpler answer. She seems like she's motivated by peers from what you're saying. And what has happened in the pandemic, if we've taken everything that's fun about school and gotten rid of all of that and left kids with just the worst part of school, which is just doing work. The reason kids go to school is not to do their work. It's to see their friends. Or to see other people. And so I would think about maybe a reward program to get her back face to face in school. Maybe you just go for 5 minutes, then go for an hour, then go for 2 hours, and then make sure when she's there that maybe they do something fun to keep her going. And I think that's a context in which, well, you know her better. I don't know what the history is. When she was in school, was she doing work in school?
Yes, but very slow. And she didn't like when they would try and rush her with anything. Then she'll just shut down. But she cannot go back to school now because you only had the openings at certain times of the year, and that's closed.
Oh,
Andrea, is she a District 75 student?
Yes,
Is she
yes.
going to summer school?
No, she's not going to go to summer school. She goes to camp every
Okay.
year since kindergarten. She's in high school, and they actually are going to give them something that, this year, which is I forgot the name of the program, but there's English and math. English, like once, I don't know how they're going to do it. Hopefully in a fun way, 1 period a week, and so she'll have 1 period of math, 1 period of English once a week, and hopefully in a fun way to do with the other kids.
I think I remember the last time we were talking, because one of the things that we're doing at the district now is we're offering a lot more PDs to teachers and sort of teaching them about motivation and building that motivation in specifically to develop peer-to-peer interaction. So one of the things that Jed was talking about that came to mind, because I remember we were talking last week as well, and we had that idea of, you know, there's only 5 weeks of school left, and then we're going into summer. So I think in general, a lot of kids, and I think a lot of people are burnt. And I definitely think the pandemic has had a huge play in that. And I think one of the things could be for you would be to have a conversation with the classroom teacher to see if you could identify a peer, or even ask her if she could identify a peer who she would want to work with in class. And even if they could
Susan put it in there too, maybe a breakout group.
A breakout room, yeah, for sure. Where either a paraprofessional could facilitate between the two students, or, you know, while there's a group lesson going on, would there be more opportunity for her to work with somebody who she is more motivated by, so that it would create more of that intrinsic motivation and buy-in for her to then want to go.
Yeah, I know you did suggest that, and I thought, I don't know if the teacher's going to do it. How could they do a breakout, because she can't leave her class. But
Well,
now that you're saying her para, she
Mhm.
has a para.
Or a related service provider too. You can,
Well, her OT today did get another. She's supposed to actually have OT in a group because she's always done better with it, but they couldn't arrange it with the scheduling, and it was just tough during the pandemic. But they did it today with one other.
That's great.
And that's when it worked. She answered questions. Because she was bouncing off of this other boy.
Yeah. So it sounds like she's definitely motivated by peers for sure. For sure.
All right, so I think we're a little bit over time, Mark, and I may have to get going. Otherwise,
thank you
I may be in
always.
trouble.
Well, we hope this was helpful for all of you. We will certainly be back. Jed will be back with us again next year, offering more webinars and working with our schools. So, you know, please feel free again if you have any questions. My name is Mark Corallo. I am a speech therapist by trade, and I'm the director of the Office of Autism now. So if any of you have any questions that you have for the office, please feel free to reach out to me. We work with lots of individuals in supporting the schools and the students and the families. And, you know, this year was definitely a year where we all learned a tremendous amount, particularly about our relationships with families and with schools. And so we want to keep that going for sure for next year. So I'm going to drop the YouTube channel in the link for all of you to have, just so you can take a look at what it is that we offer. And we want to thank all of you again for being here. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so very much.
Bye-bye now.
Ask if we could put it in the chat.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.